Welcome to the SEO series, Things Not Strings, Volume 2. All SEO site strategy should incorporate 4 pillars: accessibility, relevance, authority, and quality. For this series, we're going to be focusing on the relevance pillar. This regards the page content or your site content. For years now, since 2012 and probably a little bit earlier, Google has been saying, focus on things, not strings. What they mean is they don't want us looking just for specific keywords and trying to optimize around a specific keyword. What Google's trying to do is they want to match the intent of the searcher with the subject of the page. So what does this mean for us as site owners? It means our content must have a greater depth and breadth for the subject at hand. And Google's trying to understand what pages are serving that greater depth and breadth. So from last week, we talked about the word plant. Me saying the word plant didn't give you any context. You didn't know what I was referring to. Once I started using other words, for example, Ford Automotive and Detroit, Michigan, you understood I was referring to a automotive manufacturing plant and not a house plant or a spa with an organization. So Google's doing that same thing. Google is still looking for words, but they're looking for different kinds of words. They're not just looking for the keyword over and over and over again on your page. They're looking for the words, other words on the page that will give it more context. So let's go back to our automotive plant as an example. So there are 3 buckets of words. There are synonyms, there are related words, and there are co-occurring words. So for our example of automotive plant, some synonyms would include auto factory, automotive manufacturing, vehicle plants. Those would all be considered synonyms, essentially the same word. They could be used interchangeably. Whereas related words sometimes contain synonyms, sometimes do not. Assembly line, what auto plants are in Detroit, automotive plant closures. These are all related terms. Again, sometimes they contain the synonyms, but not always. And the third bucket, and this is where Google's really been making some strides lately, is in the co-occurring terms. These are words, if used by themselves, wouldn't mean anything, but when used in conjunction with the search query words, start giving you a much greater depth and breadth of the subject. So for example, if I say plant and then I say Ford Motor Company, Tesla Motors, Detroit, Michigan, or Bowling Green, Kentucky, you know I'm referring to automotive plant. And I didn't have to use any of the synonyms or any of the related terms. And this is what Google's doing as well. Let's look at a second example. DUI Lawyer NYC. So here's a term that has a lot of search traffic and a lot of search competition, both in the paid and organic space. So some synonyms for this would be drunk driving, attorney, New York City. Quite obvious. Some related terms, which may be obvious, may not be obvious, would be criminal defense attorney, best DUI lawyer NYC. Again, the words may have synonyms in it, they may not for the related. But the co-occurring terms are really what give Google the better understanding. And some examples for this would be case, charges, BAC, which stands for blood alcohol content, and field sobriety tests. Those words, when used in conjunction with the search query, give Google a much greater understanding of what your content is about. So that's the key to ranking. The key is not only using the keyword and the synonyms and the related terms, but you have to make sure you're using a lot of these co-occurring terms as well. So where can you find these terms? That's what we're going to talk about in Volume 3 of this series, how to find the different keywords so that you can use them in your content. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you next week.